I was standing in my childhood bedroom, holding an envelope with my name on it, written in my mother's trembling hand. When I heard my sister laughing downstairs with the lawyer, that same warm laugh I'd trusted my whole life, the envelope was heavier than it should have been. And the lawyer's words still echoed in my head. She wanted you to have this privately. Inside was a single photograph of my mother, decades younger, standing beside a safe I'd never seen before, and on the back, in her careful cursive, "Open it alone. Trust no one, not even her." My hands were shaking as I heard Emma's footsteps on the stairs, and I shoved the envelope into my jacket pocket just as she burst through the door, her eyes red from what I thought was crying. "There you are," she said, reaching for my hand. "The lawyer says we need to go over Mom's will together. Everything's split 50-50, just like she promised. We're going to get through this together. Okay? Just you and me, like always." I looked at my sister, my best friend since childhood, and smiled even as my fingers wrapped around that envelope in my pocket, wondering what my mother meant by not even her. But I had no idea that in 3 weeks, I'd be watching that same sister's world crumble as she realized I'd known her secret all along. 6 months earlier, Mom was still fighting weak, but fighting. I'd moved back home to help, sleeping in my old room, bringing her medication, holding her hand through the bad days. Emma lived an hour away, but visited twice a week, or so she said. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I first heard her voice in the hallway, low and urgent. "I told you, I'm handling it." "No, he doesn't suspect anything." "Yes, I'm sure. She trusts me completely." The coldness in how she said she made my skin crawl, and when she came back into Mom's room, her face was all sunshine again, chirping about Derek needing help with something. But I'd heard Derek's voice enough to know that wasn't a conversation with her husband. Over the next few weeks, I started paying attention, really paying attention to how Emma volunteered to take Mom to appointments alone, to handle her bills, to take care of everything so you can just focus on spending time with her. Then I noticed the documents missing from Mom's desk drawer, and when I called the bank, pretending to verify account information, the representative said cheerfully, "Oh yes, your mother added a cosigner 3 weeks ago, Mayor Richardson, with full access." My blood ran cold, and I knew my sister was stealing something from our dying mother. Mom had good days, sometimes rare, precious moments when she was sharp and present and almost herself. "Sweetheart," she said one afternoon, patting the bed beside her, "I need to talk to you about what happens after." Her paper-thin hand felt like bird bones in mine, and something flickered across her face when I mentioned Emma helping with the paperwork, something that looked almost like fear. 2 days later, a lawyer I'd never seen showed up at the house, young and nervous, saying Emma had arranged an appointment to update Mom's will. "My mother's resting," I told him firmly, and when he insisted Emma said I might be difficult about this, I threw him out. That's when I called Mr. Patterson, our family lawyer, who told me Emma had tried to schedule an appointment weeks ago, but he'd insisted Mom call herself. "Why?" he asked, concern bleeding through his professional tone. "Because," I said, my voice steady and cold, "my sister is trying to steal my mother's estate, and I'm going to stop her." But I had no idea how deep her betrayal went, or how much my mother already knew. At 2:47 a.m., I heard the front door opening slow. Careful, someone trying to be quiet. I crept to the top of the stairs with my phone ready to record. And in the darkness below, I saw a figure moving through the living room with a flashlight, going straight to Mom's desk like they knew exactly where they were going. The light illuminated my sister's face as she rifled through the drawer, photographing documents, then pulling papers from her bag and replacing Mom's real files with forgeries. I watched, frozen, as Emma systematically switched out our mother's documents. And when she finished, she stood up with a smile I'd never seen before. Cold, victorious, terrifying. She left as quietly as she'd come, and I sat on my bed until sunrise watching that video over and over, trying to reconcile the person I'd just seen with the sister I'd loved my entire life. When Emma called that afternoon, honey sweet, asking how Mom was doing and saying she'd come by tomorrow with soup, I kept my voice neutral and said, "That would be nice." Then I called Mr. Patterson and said, "I need you to secure my mother's original will, and I need you to check if any new wills have been filed under Mom's name, because stealing from the dying is one thing." But what Emma did next crossed a line I never imagined. Emma arrived with soup, and that smile that now made my stomach turn, breezing past me to Mom's room. I followed and leaned against the doorframe, watching them, waiting to see if Mom knew what was happening. When Mom's eyes opened and saw Emma, something changed in her expression. Not quite fear, not quite sadness, but something worse. Resignation. "Could you give us a few minutes?" Emma asked, some sister-daughter time. Every instinct screamed no, but I nodded and went to my room, turning on the baby monitor I'd secretly installed. Their voices came through crystal clear, and Emma's sweet tone evaporated the second she thought I was gone. "Mom, we need to talk about the paperwork. You need to sign these today." Mom's tired voice whispered, "Emma, please. Please don't do this." Emma's reply was ice. "Don't do what?" "I'm helping you. Everything's going to be taken care of." But Mom cut her off. "You're lying to me. You've been lying for months. You've been stealing from me." The silence that followed was long and terrible. And then Emma said, her voice terrifyingly calm, "If you know, then you know I can't stop now, so you're going to sign these papers today. Or I'm going to tell the hospice nurses you want to refuse treatment, that you want to die. They'll believe me. I'm your medical power of attorney." I burst through the door saying, "Get away from her," and watched my sister's face go white as I held up my phone and said, "I recorded everything." Emma stood slowly, her face cycling through shock, panic, calculation, before settling on that cold smile. "You can't prove anything," she said. "Those recordings won't hold up to your word against mine. And who are they going to believe? The daughter who swooped in at the last minute, or the daughter who's been here handling everything for months?" I kept my voice quiet and steady. "You mean forging documents? Stealing from bank accounts? Breaking into the house at 2:47 a.m.? Yeah, I have video of that too, and bank records. And testimony from Mr. Patterson." Her smile faltered, and I said, "Get out now, and don't come back." She grabbed her bag, hissed, "This isn't over," and stormed out so hard the windows rattled. I ran to Mom's side as she sobbed, "I'm so sorry you had to see that. I should have told you," and I held her, saying it would be okay, even though I knew Emma wouldn't give up. Then Mom told me everything. Emma had borrowed $80,000 a year ago, claiming financial trouble, then came back for more. When Mom got sick, Emma offered to help with finances and forged signatures to add herself to every account, stealing maybe $200,000 total. "There's more," Mom whispered. "The life insurance half, $1 million. And I think she's been adjusting my medication, making me confused, making me sick." At 3 a.m., I crept down to the basement with a flashlight. Searching behind the water heater, where Mom said Dad had installed a safe years ago, the combination was my birthday. And inside was a manila envelope, thick with papers, bank statements, with every withdrawal highlighted. Transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. And then something that made my blood freeze. A life insurance application for an additional $1 million on Mom's life. Dated 3 months ago with Mom's forged signature naming Emma as beneficiary, there were emails between Emma and someone named Marcus, WEBA financial advisor who'd lost his license for fraud, discussing expediting the process and accelerating the timeline, and managing medication schedules, even making Mom's death look natural. At the bottom was a letter in Mom's handwriting. "If you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've found what I couldn't show you while alive." Emma came yesterday with Marcus and asked me to sign papers. And when I refused, Marcus said, "Mrs. Chen, you should reconsider people in your condition. Accidents happen, falls, medication mix-ups." Emma said nothing, just stared at me with eyes I didn't recognize. Mom's letter ended. "Use this evidence not for revenge, but to protect yourself and make sure she can't do this to anyone else, because sometimes love means holding people accountable." I spent 3 days making copies of everything, one set to Mr. Patterson, one to a secret safe deposit box, one with me then called Marcus Webb from a burner phone. "Mr. Webb, I'm Sarah Chen, and I know about the emails, the forged insurance policy, the discussions about medication management, all of it." After his stunned silence, I said, "Set up a meeting with you, Emma and me, or I go to the police with everything, and you'll go to prison for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit murder." He called back 2 minutes later, agreeing to Friday at 2 p.m. at the coffee shop on Maple Street. I also called Mom's doctor about the unexplained seizures, and when they ran a toxicology panel, They found traces of diazepam sedatives in levels that didn't match Mom's prescriptions, meaning someone had been drugging her. Friday afternoon, I arrived early, set my phone to record hidden behind a water glass. And when Emma and Marcus walked in at 2:03, I watched Emma hesitate before committing. "Marcus said you wanted to talk about Mom's estate," she said, sliding into the seat. "I do," I replied calmly. "I've been thinking about working together, splitting everything evenly. But I need to understand the $80,000 you borrowed, and the money you've been transferring, and the forged signatures, and the fake life insurance policy." The color drained from Emma's face. And I said quietly, "Unless you want the detective waiting outside, sit down and tell me everything." Emma's mouth opened and closed, and I slid a photo across the table her at 2:47 a.m. in Mom's house at the desk saying, bank statements, security footage, emails about medication management, toxicology reports showing unexplained sedatives. Should I go on? When Marcus tried to leave, I told him to sit because he'd suggested accelerating the timeline in writing and was just as guilty. "Here's what happens," I said, looking only at Emma. "You tell me everything on this recording, or you both go to prison." Emma stared at me, something breaking in her face, and whispered, "You don't understand what it's like. Derek lost everything. We were losing our house. I panicked," I said. "So you stole from Mom," she insisted. "I borrowed. I was going to pay it back, but then she got sick, and I realized she wasn't going to need it, and I thought, why should it all go to you? You left this town the second you graduated. I've been here. I've been the good daughter for years," I repeated slowly. "The good daughter who forged signatures and drugged your own mother." Emma's eyes went wild. "I never drugged her. Those sedatives were prescribed. I just made sure she took them to keep her calm, to keep her from realizing what was happening. I just needed more time to get everything in place." Her voice rose. She was dying anyway. The doctor said 3 months. I just needed her to last long enough to sign the papers, and if she happened to go peacefully in her sleep, who would question it? There, it was the confession I needed, the admission that she'd planned to kill our mother. And as Emma sobbed, "I'm so sorry." I knew she wasn't sorry for what she'd done, only sorry she'd been caught. The police arrested Emma 3 days later. Grand theft, fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, attempted manslaughter. I didn't go to the courthouse. I stayed home with Mom, who was fading faster now, but at least peacefully, without the drugged confusion Emma had kept her in. "Did you do it?" Mom whispered one afternoon, her eyes clear. "Did you stop her?" I said yes, and she smiled slightly, asking, "Do you hate her?" I thought for a long time before answering. No, I was just sad for who Emma could have been, for the sister I thought I had. "She's still your sister," Mom said. And when I asked if she forgave Emma, her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. I'm too tired to forgive, to hurt. But I hope someday you'll be able to let go of this weight. Not for her sake, but for yours." Mom died 6 days later, peacefully holding my hand. And the funeral was strange with Emma out on bail, but not allowed to attend because of the restraining order. People kept asking where she was, and I told them the truth. She can't be here. After everyone left, I stood alone at Mom's grave, crying ugly sobs for Mom. For the years lost to illness, for the months Emma stole with her greed, and for the sister I'd lost long before Mom died. I'd done what Mom asked protected our family. Stopped Emma, but I'd also become something harder, something colder. And now I had to figure out if I could find my way back to being warm. Emma's trial was set for 3 months later, and her lawyer called offering a guilty plea if I'd ask for leniency in sentencing. I said no immediately, but that night I couldn't sleep. Hearing Mom's words, "She's still your sister," against every instinct. I agreed to one conversation, and Emma looked terrible when I saw her thin, hollow, cheap blazer that didn't fit. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly, not meeting my eyes. "I'm not here to forgive you," I said flatly, "so talk." Emma twisted her hands together. "I'm pleading guilty to everything. I'm not going to make you go through a trial or drag Mom's name through the mud. I know it's tactical, but it's also because when Mom died and I couldn't go to her funeral, when I sat in that jail cell understanding I'd never get to say goodbye and that my last words to her were threats, I realized I'd become exactly what you said, a monster. I wanted you to know I'm sorry, not sorry I got caught, but sorry for what I did, for who I became." I looked at this stranger who used to be my sister and said, "Okay, I hear you. But your apology doesn't undo anything. Mom's still dead. The money's still gone, our family is still destroyed, and I'm still recommending the maximum sentence, because you didn't just steal money. You stole Mom's peace and dignity and made her afraid in her own home." Emma asked if I'd ever think of her as my sister again. And I said, "Honestly, I don't know right now. All I see is what you did to Mom. And maybe that will change someday, or maybe it won't. But either way is okay." The judge sentenced Emma to 8 years. She'd be eligible for parole in 5, and Marcus got 6 years. Derek filed for divorce 3 weeks later. I inherited what Mom had left, which wasn't much after Emma's thefts. But I sold the house because I couldn't live there anymore with all those ghosts. And with the money, I started a foundation to help families dealing with elder financial abuse, funding legal aid for people who couldn't afford to fight back, naming it after Mom. 6 months after sentencing, I got a letter from Emma saying she was working in the prison library, reading, thinking, trying to understand why she'd been willing to hurt people she loved for money, and that she thought about me and Mom every day. I put the letter in a box with all the evidence but didn't respond. Mr. Patterson asked once if I regretted turning Emma in, saying I could have handled it privately, kept it out of court, but I said no if I'd done that. Emma would have learned you can betray people and face no consequences, and next time she'd do it again. Justice matters, I told him. On the first anniversary of Mom's death, I visited her grave with yellow daisies and told her I'd done what she asked, protected our family, made sure Emma faced consequences, and that the foundation was helping people. "But Mom," I said, my voice breaking, "I miss you. I miss having someone who loved me unconditionally, who believed family meant something. And I don't know how to reconcile the little girl who held my hand on the first day of school with the woman who was willing to let you die for money." 2 years later, I got another letter from Emma saying she was up for parole, that she'd been a model prisoner taking every class offered. Learning she'd crossed the line when she looked at Mom's declining health and saw an opportunity instead of a tragedy. "I felt invisible," she wrote. "Derek's failure made me feel like a failure. And when I looked at successful, independent, free, I felt like I'd wasted my life. So I took and kept taking because each theft made me feel powerful and less invisible. But I was never invisible. Mom saw me. You saw me. I just didn't see myself." She said if paroled, she wouldn't contact me, would respect my boundaries, but would spend the rest of her life trying to be someone Mom would have been proud of. I wrote back once, "I'm glad you've done the work. If you get parole, good luck. I hope you build a life worth living, but we can't rebuild what we had." That relationship died the day you chose money over family. I don't hate you anymore. I don't think about you much at all. I've built a new life, and part of that is accepting some relationships end. Some betrayals are too big to forgive, and that's okay. So this is goodbye, not angry or bitter, just goodbye. 3 months later, Emma was paroled and moved to a different state, and we never spoke again. I took out the photo from Mom's envelope, her, young and healthy, and smiling, and realized she'd known something was wrong and left me tools to fight back. That was her final gift. Not money or property, but the strength to stand up for what's right, even when it costs everything. Because that's the thing about betrayal. It can destroy you or teach you, make you bitter or strong, close your heart or help you understand what really matters. And I chose strength, chose to let it teach me, chose to keep my heart open, even knowing the risk. And that's how I won, not by destroying Emma, but by refusing to let her betrayal destroy the person I wanted to be. If you've experienced family betrayal, know this: you're not alone. You're not crazy for feeling hurt. You're not wrong for standing up for yourself. And sometimes the bravest thing is walking away. The strongest thing is standing to fight. And the wisest thing is knowing the difference.